Are you over 50 and constantly feeling tired, forgetful, or low on energy, even when you're eating healthy? The truth is, it may not be aging. It could be vitamin B12 deficiency, one of the most overlooked causes of fatigue, brain fog, and nerve problems in seniors. In this video, inspired by the science-driven approach of Dr. William Lee, we break down why B12 deficiency happens even if you eat well, the real root cause, absorption not diet, early warning signs most people ignore, the best free and natural foods to fix it, how to restore energy, brain function, and metabolism. This is not about quick fixes. This is about understanding your body and optimizing it naturally. If you're serious about healthy aging, energy, and longevity, this video will give you a clear, science-backed roadmap. Timestamps with emojis. Introduction. The hidden cause of fatigue. 1.45. Why B12 deficiency is so common in seniors, 0430, how B12 affects brain, energy, and nerves. 0710. The real problem, absorption versus diet, 10. Early symptoms you should never ignore, 1240. Why blood tests can be misleading, 1510. Best natural and free sources of B12, 18 GATs. Lifestyle fixes that boost B12 naturally, 2010. Simple daily plan to restore, B12, 2130. Final takeaways and action steps. Keywords, one paragraph, comma separated. Vitamin B12 deficiency, seniors health, B12 deficiency symptoms, low energy causes, fatigue in elderly, brain fog fix, natural B12 sources, healthy aging tips, vitamin B12 foods, reverse deficiency naturally, metabolism boost, nerve health, B12 absorption, elderly nutrition, longevity diet, Dr. William Lee health, functional medicine, energy boosting foods, senior wellness, cognitive health, hashtags, lowercase, one paragraph, vitamin B12, your B12 deficiency, your senior health, healthy aging, your energy boost, brain health, nutrition tips, longevity, fatigue fix, natural health, e.g. wellness over 50, metabolic health disclaimer. This video is for educational purposes only and is not intended as medical advice. Always consult with a qualified healthcare professional before making changes to your diet, supplements, or lifestyle, especially if you have underlying health conditions or are taking medications. References for credibility: NIH Office of Dietary Supplements, vitamin B12 research on age-related B12 malabsorption studies on methylmalonic acid, MMA, and homocysteine as functional markers, clinical insights on B12 and cognitive health in aging populations, video tags, vitamin B12 deficiency symptoms, seniors health tips, energy after 60, brain fog solution, natural vitamins, healthy aging diet, fatigue causes, B12 foods, elderly nutrition, metabolism health, nerve repair, Dr. William Lee, functional medicine, longevity tips. What if I told you that your hair loss is not just about DHT, and that focusing only on blocking DHT might actually be the reason you're still losing hair? Most people think hair loss is a simple hormone problem. They hear one word, DHT, and immediately assume that's the enemy. If I block it, my hair will come back. But here's what's really going on inside your body. Hair loss is not a single switch problem. It's a multi-system metabolic signal. Your hair is actually one of the first places your body turns off when something deeper is going wrong. Energy production, nutrient delivery, inflammation control, and even stress physiology. Think of your hair like the lights in a house during a power shortage. When energy is limited, your body doesn't prioritize hair. It prioritizes survival, brain, heart, and muscles first. Hair is low priority. Now here's the shocking part. DHT is not the root cause. DHT is a messenger. It's responding to something already happening inside your body: insulin imbalance, poor liver detoxification, chronic inflammation, and nutrient deficiencies. So if you only focus on DHT, you are treating the smoke, not the fire. And this is why so many people try shampoos, oils, supplements, or even medications, and still see thinning hair, receding hairlines, and shedding continue. But the good news is this: your body has powerful repair systems, and certain foods can directly influence the biology of hair regrowth, not by blocking DHT blindly, but by restoring metabolic balance, improving follicle oxygenation, reducing inflammation, and supporting keratin production. In this video, I'm going to break down a completely different way of understanding hair loss, a functional medicine approach that connects your hair health to your metabolism, liver function, and nutrient signaling. And most importantly, I'll show you 7 specific foods that can help shift your body from hair loss mode into hair growth mode. Here's what we'll uncover: why DHT is only part of the story, and what actually triggers it. How insulin resistance silently accelerates hair thinning. Why poor liver function leads to hormonal imbalance on your scalp. How inflammation shrinks hair follicles over time. And finally, the 7 science-supported foods that help reverse this process naturally. If you've been struggling with hair loss, thinning edges, or slow regrowth, this is not just about appearance. It's about what your body is trying to tell you about your internal health. So let's break this down step by step, starting with the most misunderstood hormone in hair loss, DHT, and why it alone is never the full explanation. Here's what's really going on inside your body that almost nobody talks about. Your liver is not just a detox organ, it is your hormone regulation center. Think of it like a recycling and sorting facility. Every day, your body produces hormones like testosterone, estrogen, and cortisol. After they're used, they must be broken down and cleared out through the liver. Now, here's the problem. When your liver is overloaded from processed foods, alcohol, chronic stress, poor sleep, or even excess body fat, it becomes slower at processing these hormones. And when that happens, hormone waste products start to accumulate and circulate longer than they should. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine a city where garbage trucks stop working properly. Waste doesn't disappear, it piles up in the streets. Eventually, the entire environment becomes toxic. That is exactly what happens in your body when liver clearance slows down. Now connect this to hair loss. DHT is a metabolite of testosterone. It needs to be properly regulated and cleared. But when liver function is sluggish, androgen metabolism becomes imbalanced. This doesn't always mean you have too much DHT. It often means your body cannot process hormones efficiently. And that subtle imbalance is enough to change how hair follicles behave over time. Here's the important part. Hair follicles are extremely sensitive to hormonal fluctuations. They don't need extreme hormone changes to react. Even small chronic imbalances can gradually shrink follicles, a process called miniaturization. So when liver function is impaired, you don't just get a detox problem, you get a signaling problem at the scalp level. Now, what the research in metabolic health and dermatology consistently suggests is this: poor liver health is strongly associated with insulin resistance and increased systemic inflammation, both of which amplify hair thinning patterns. So again, we are not dealing with a single cause, we are dealing with a network failure. Now let's bring this into something practical. If you want to support your liver for better hair health, you are not thinking about detox teas or extreme cleanses. You are thinking about nutrient-driven liver support that improves bile flow, reduces inflammation, and enhances hormone clearance. And this is where food becomes a powerful tool. For example, foods rich in sulfur compounds help the liver process hormones more efficiently. Bitter compounds stimulate bile flow, which is essential for hormone elimination. Antioxidant-rich foods reduce oxidative stress in liver cells, improving overall metabolic efficiency. Let me pause here for a second because this is important to understand. If your liver is working better, your hormone balance improves automatically. And when hormone balance improves, the scalp environment becomes more stable, meaning less follicle stress, less inflammation, and better growth signaling. This is why people often notice improved skin, energy, and even hair quality when they clean up their diet, even without directly targeting hair loss. Because again, hair is not isolated. It is a reflection of internal metabolic health. And if this is helpful so far, consider subscribing, because in the next section, I'm going to break down how inflammation and oxidative stress literally shrink hair follicles, and how you can reverse that process using specific foods that calm the scalp at a cellular level. Here's what's really going on inside your body that most people completely miss. Hair loss is not just a hormone issue, it is also an inflammation and oxygen delivery problem. Think of your hair follicle like a tiny, highly active factory. It needs constant fuel, oxygen, glucose, amino acids, and micronutrients to produce strong hair strands. Now imagine that factory slowly getting surrounded by smoke. At first, production slows down, then machines start malfunctioning. Eventually, the factory shuts down sections one by one. That smoke is chronic inflammation and oxidative stress. Let me explain this more clearly. When your body is exposed to poor diet, high sugar intake, chronic stress, poor sleep, or environmental toxins, it produces inflammatory molecules called cytokines. These molecules are not inherently bad. They are part of your immune system. But when they are constantly elevated, they start damaging healthy tissues. And your hair follicles are extremely sensitive to this environment. Here's what happens step by step. First, inflammation reduces microcirculation in the scalp. That means less oxygen and fewer nutrients reach the follicle. Second, oxidative stress damages the cells inside the follicle, especially the dermal papilla cells that control hair growth cycles. Third, over time, the follicle begins to shrink. The hair becomes thinner, weaker, and shorter with each growth cycle. This process is called follicle miniaturization. Now here's the key insight. This is not sudden. It is slow, silent, and progressive. You don't notice it day to day. But over months and years, the density changes become obvious. And here's the critical connection most people miss. Inflammation is not just coming from outside, it is coming from your metabolism. High insulin levels, poor gut health, and fatty liver all increase systemic inflammation. So again, we are not dealing with separate problems. We are dealing with one interconnected system. Now let's bring in a simple analogy. Think of your scalp like a garden with an irrigation system. Blood flow is the water supply. Nutrients are the fertilizer. Follicles are the plants. Inflammation is like rust inside the pipes. Even if you have good fertilizer, supplements, or good seeds, genetics, if the pipes are clogged, nothing reaches the garden properly. That's why many people try oils, shampoos, or supplements, but don't see real improvement, because the internal delivery system is still compromised. Now here's where we shift from problem to solution. What the research in nutritional immunology and metabolic health consistently shows is that certain foods can reduce inflammatory signaling, improve mitochondrial function, and increase antioxidant capacity in tissues, including the scalp. This is where real transformation begins, because when inflammation drops, blood flow improves, oxygen delivery increases, follicle cells regain function, hair growth cycles stabilize, and most importantly, the scalp environment becomes safe again for growth. So instead of fighting hair loss at the surface level, we start repairing the internal terrain. Now we reach the most practical and powerful part of this entire system. Because once you understand that hair loss is driven by metabolism, inflammation, and hormone processing, the next question becomes, what can I actually eat to reverse this process? Here's what's really going on inside your body. Food is not just calories. Food is information. It sends signals that can either push your body into inflammation and follicle shutdown, or into repair, regeneration, and growth. Let's go through 7 science-supported foods that help shift your system back toward hair growth mode. 1. Pumpkin seeds. Natural DHT modulation support. Pumpkin seeds are rich in zinc and phytosterols. Zinc is critical for hair follicle repair and keratin production, while phytosterols may help balance androgen signaling. Let me explain this simply. If your follicles are like construction sites, zinc is the worker that rebuilds the structure. Without it, repair slows down. What the research suggests is that zinc deficiency is commonly linked with hair shedding patterns. So adding a small handful of pumpkin seeds daily is a simple but powerful metabolic signal. 2. Fatty fish. Salmon, sardines, mackerel. These foods are rich in omega-3 fatty acids. Here's what's really happening inside your body. Omega-3s help reduce inflammatory cytokines and improve cell membrane fluidity. That means better nutrient delivery to hair follicles. Think of omega-3s like oil in an engine. Without them, everything becomes stiff, inflamed, and inefficient. They also support scalp circulation, which is essential for follicle oxygenation. 3. Eggs. Complete keratin building block. Hair is made mostly of a protein called keratin. Eggs provide essential amino acids like biotin, cysteine, and methionine, all critical for hair structure. Now, here's the key insight. If your body lacks protein or specific amino acids, it prioritizes survival systems, not hair growth. So, eggs are not just protein, they are structural raw material for regeneration. 4. Leafy greens, spinach, kale, arugula. These are rich in folate, magnesium, and plant nitrates. Let me explain this simply. Plant nitrates help improve nitric oxide production, which enhances blood flow. Better blood flow means better follicle oxygenation. Think of leafy greens as circulation enhancers for your scalp. They also reduce oxidative stress, which slows follicle aging. 5. Berries, blueberries, strawberries, blackberries. Berries are one of the strongest natural sources of antioxidants. What does that mean for hair? It means protection from oxidative damage at the follicle level. Oxidative stress is like slow cellular rusting. Berries act like anti-rust protection for your hair growth system. They also help stabilize blood sugar, which indirectly reduces insulin-driven inflammation. 6. Lentils and legumes. These foods support stable glucose release and provide plant-based protein and iron. Here's the metabolic connection. When blood sugar is stable, insulin spikes are reduced. And when insulin is stable, inflammatory signaling drops. This creates a more balanced hormonal environment for hair growth. Iron from lentils also supports oxygen transport to the follicle. 7. Green tea. Green tea contains catechins, especially EGCG. What EGCG does is fascinating. It helps reduce oxidative stress, supports fat metabolism in the liver, and may help modulate DHT activity indirectly by improving overall hormonal balance. Think of it as a metabolic reset signal for your system. Now step back and see the pattern. Every one of these foods is not targeting hair directly. They are targeting the root systems behind hair loss: inflammation, insulin balance, liver function, circulation, cellular repair. That's why they work together as a system, not as isolated tricks. And when you combine them consistently, your body slowly shifts from a survival state into a regeneration state. Let's bring everything together now in a simple, clear way. Because if you only remember one thing from this entire discussion, let it be this: hair loss is not a DHT problem. Hair loss is a systemic metabolic signal. It is your body telling you that something deeper is off. In your insulin regulation, your liver function, your inflammation levels, and your nutrient availability. And once you understand this, everything changes. Let's quickly recap what we uncovered step by step. First, we learned that DHT is not the enemy. It is a messenger, responding to internal stress, not creating it in isolation. Second, we saw how insulin resistance can quietly increase inflammation, disrupt hormonal signaling, and reduce scalp circulation, slowly weakening hair follicles over time. Third, we explored the liver's role as your hormone processing center. When it slows down, hormonal balance becomes less precise, which can affect follicle sensitivity and growth cycles. Fourth, we understood that chronic inflammation and oxidative stress act like a slow rusting process inside the scalp, shrinking follicles and reducing their ability to produce strong hair. And finally, we looked at 7 specific foods that don't just feed hair, they help regulate the entire internal environment that controls hair growth. Now step back and connect the pattern. This is not about chasing one hormone or one supplement. This is about shifting your body from a stress state into a repair state. And that shift happens daily through the signals you send your body with food, sleep, movement, and stress management. Let me make this very practical for you. If you want to start today, don't try to do everything at once. That is where most people fail. Instead, choose just one simple starting point. Add pumpkin seeds to your daily routine, or replace one processed meal with fatty fish or eggs, or start drinking green tea instead of sugary drinks. Small signals repeated daily create biological change, because your body is constantly listening. Every meal is a message. Every choice is a signal. And over time, those signals either reinforce inflammation or rebuild regeneration. Now, here is the most important mindset shift I want you to take away. Hair regrowth is not just about what you remove, it is about what you restore. You are not just stopping loss, you are rebuilding internal balance. So instead of asking, how do I block DHT? Start asking, how do I make my body a better environment for growth? That is the real root cause approach. That is functional medicine thinking. And that is how you move from managing symptoms to actually reversing the underlying process. Now, your challenge is simple. Try just one of these changes today and observe your energy, your digestion, your skin, and over time, your hair response, because the body always responds to consistency, not intensity. If this added value, like the video and subscribe to join others who are optimizing their health naturally using science, not confusion. And remember, your hair is not just hair. It is a reflection of your internal biology.